Hey, also, I'm just chilling out in my basement in my quarantine drag. I got this, braided hair that has been slept in. I've got this little, like, flimsy jacket that has become my second skin. And we're going to talk about Venus retrograde today because I think it's very, timely because it's happening right now. You understand? All right, so Venus retrograde. The time period of this, it started on May 13th. So today's the 19th. This started on May 13th. And Venus retrograde happens less frequently than Mercury retrograde, which is like 3 times a year. Venus retrograde is once a year, if that. It's usually once every other year. So the last couple times that Venus retrograde have happened was October and November of 2018. The last time before that was March and April of 2017. And then the last time before that was July all the way to September of 2015. So just the last 3 times over the last couple of years, we've hit, you know, um, these longer cycles. So this cycle itself, it started on May 13th at 21 degrees of Gemini, and then it's going to slowly back up to 5 degrees of Gemini until June 25th. So this is a longer retrograde cycle. So this whole, like, from the May 13th until June 25th, we're going to be in this like backing up of Venus energy in this Gemini expression of energy, right? So what does that mean? So what happens is Venus is all about, Venus is the divine feminine in our chart. We all, whether we are cisgender, transgender, non-binary, we all have a masculine and a feminine force. We all have some kind of something. And if that doesn't express for you, then, this is my understanding of it. And this is kind of how it makes sense for me. So I'm just speaking it through my filter. You know what I'm saying? Also, I feel like people put so much pressure on Venus and Mars to like answer questions about their charts. And I'm like, we're all a little bit feminine. We're all a little bit masculine. Like, it ain't that deep. Like, but whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to speak on anything deep right now. This is already taken way too long. I got 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Come on. All right. So Venus retrograde. So Venus is the divine feminine in our chart, right? This is like where we have attractive forces. Venus is all about worth. What is my worth in terms of money? What is my worth in terms of my self-esteem, my value? Like, where Venus is lands gives blessings and worth and that kind of thing in our chart. So Venus rules over the signs of both Taurus, which is about my value, my worth, my money, my stuff, and also Libra, which is about our, like, how can I bridge the gap? How can I, like, even out the scales between us? You know what I mean? So there's this personal and this, like, relational energy that Venus embodies within the signs. So Venus is also a building force. You know what I mean? If it's the feminine, it's bringing the energy inward, and it builds. It's what's that expression? The rolling stone gathers no moss. Well, we want to gather moss. You know what I mean? We're not rolling. We're sitting here and we're like, give me my coins, give me my flowers, give me my praise. This is my shit. I'm being really, snarky about what Venus is, but like, you get what I'm saying. The energy comes inward. It's like this, right? So in Gemini is an air sign, which is all about mental energy. So it's about ideas. It's about talking. It's about exchanging information, communicating. Gemini is really big about back and forth. We need to have interplay. Gemini likes to argue. You know what I mean? Gemini likes to go back and forth about, we want to make sure that it's this specific idea. It can't just be this general thing. It has to be this specific idea. You know what I mean? And we're going to make sure it's this, like, particular point. You know what I mean? And that kind of a thing. So if we're attracting this kind of idea or this value of intellectual appraisal, or like mentally parsing it out, having a sounding board, going back and forth, I'm going to express my opinion, you express your opinion. You know what I mean? This duality is very Gemini energy. So within the retrograde cycle, because of our planet's relative orbit, we actually come into closer, I'm not like, we come into closer orbit with the planet Venus. So during a Venus retrograde, Venus is closer to Earth. That, if we're looking at the southern sky, normally it's going this way, and then when it's retrograde, it seems to back up and then go the other way, right? But when it's this retrograde energy that normally it's just going forward. It's just normal. It's just trucking along. But when it goes in retrograde, it backs up, right? Like that energy that normally is coming out. I'm going to say my experience. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's like, you know what I mean? Like that energy tends to go inward. So in Mercury retrograde, we have troubles with communication. Like I have trouble, like I'm saying what I'm trying to say, but I can't really get it out there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, like our technology or our car breaks down. So in the same vein, Venus retrograde, it has to do with matters of the heart, and it has to do with matters of like personal esteem, personal value. Like, what do I value? What is my value? What do I value in my environment? What is my environment like? You know what I mean? Like, so when it comes to Venus retrograde in Gemini, it's about basically mental stimulation. We're bored. Like, and to me, like the overall metaphor of this thing is the soft reopen. I live in Utah, and there's businesses that are starting to reopen right before we have this giant other curve on this pandemic. So you know what I mean? Like when I'm thinking of this Venus retrograde in Gemini, we are craving intellectual stimulation. We are craving some kind of, thing to do, or, it's getting warmer. You know what I mean? It's spring leading into the summer. We're about to be in going outside weather, going to the beach, whatever, going hiking. I don't know. And right now we're kind of in this mode of like, are we trapped inside? And we're bored, and we're getting restless, and we're this and we're that, and we're craving this stimulation. So it's almost like we're going to go do stuff just because it's something to do, because we're bored. You know what I mean? Like we're going to like, yeah, fine, let's go. Let's, I'm going to go grocery shopping 3 times, even though I only need to go once. Like, I'm just making this up, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to put yourself in harm's way, because it still is a global pandemic. Don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? We just can't be like, oh, I'm bored of this now, and now we're just going to go outside. That's not how it works. So we're having this ennui, we're craving stimulation, and something that I think every retrograde gives us the opportunity to reassess, right? Because what happens is that star or that planet is moving along. Like generally Venus is going along, and it goes along and it goes along. But what happens is that it stops, it backs up, and then it goes back forward. It goes over that whole same piece of the sky 3 different times. So when a retrograde happens, we have the opportunity to really look at stuff with new lenses. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at it, and then it's like, oh, what's that? Wait, how, like, am I seeing reality? You know what I mean? So in this essence of like Venus retrograde, we're craving like intellectual stimulation. We're bored. We're feeling repressed. We're feeling like we're not being heard. We're feeling like it's just this big waiting game. And for Gemini, like being bored or having to wait around is like the most fatal sin. You know what I mean? Like it's the most like egregious error that can be made. And so I think that collectively, this energy of Venus in Gemini, what I wrote down in my little journal was necessity is the mother of invention. You know what I mean? Like the opportunity that I think this retrograde is presenting us with is the opportunity to invent new ways of thinking. Like it's okay to sit down and read a book. That's very Gemini energy. It's okay to, like journal, or like, okay, how was I spending my time before? What am I going to spend my time doing now? It's very Gemini energy to use that energy to build something forward. So even if that energy is somehow coming inward, or it's stuck, or it's back up, or, we're in this phase of feeling like I have to burn the bridges. Like whenever Venus or any kind of retrograde happens, something comes back. You know what I mean? Like something comes back in our life, like having a fight with our friend, or you know what I mean, having a fight with our partner, like somebody from our past coming back to say hey, or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? There's this cyclical nature when it's a retrograde. And so I think that Venus retrograde in Gemini is really giving us the opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to be bored, but now what am I going to do? Like maybe this really is the time to like look into writing my play. I've been talking about that shit for years, and plays are going to be out the window for who knows how long, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, but maybe now is the time that I could sit down and start typing out those ideas for that play that I knew was going to be like a Broadway hit. You know what I'm saying? Like intellectually reassessing, reappraising what we attract to us. And that is your Venus retrograde in Gemini. Blah. Let me know what you think. Bye.